Alright, so if you run a brand, you most definitely have email marketing, which is why you clicked on this video. You're trying to figure out how to build email marketing emails in Figma. Now, I've done another video on how to build them out in Canva, which you can go look over here. But if you are specifically focused on Figma, which I highly, highly recommend is my preferred method, then watch this video. It's going to be to the point, it's going to be practical. I'm going to be doing a recreation of Gymshark's emails, and you can see how it's built and how you can follow along as well. So keep it as short and simple as possible. I'm going to try to teach it to you in under 20 minutes. And with that being said, I'm just going to jump straight into everything. All right, so I want to jump straight into it. I don't want to take too much of your time. I want to show you how to do it as valuable as possible, plus showing you some tidbits along the way that are going to save you tons and tons of time, plus make you tons of money. So essentially what I've done is I've already saved all the elements that I'll be using. I just looked at my website, I took some elements that I wanted, and I recommend that you do the same. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm just going to come on the right here and I'm going to show you how to start this. Now, practice for email, in my opinion, is making a rectangle, and by doing a rectangle, you press R on your keyboard when you go into Figma. And essentially, you're just going to drag it down. I like creating this so that it kind of acts as my framework for the email, and so I can use it as an alignment help. And then I resize the width to 600. That's kind of best practice and best for exporting. The first thing I want to do is take the image that I saved. So I like to work off of a hero image, and that dictates the design for most of the email. I like to make sure that it matches. So just think about that as your rule of thumb is, does it match and will it align? And now I'm just going to resize so it's all good. And again, all I want to do is I want to take the frame and I want to move it above in layers on the left here. So I'm going to name them as well just to keep track of what's actually going on. So templates. Cool. And so what I want to do as well is I just want to make sure that I lock this. And that's going to keep me from moving things around. Now this I'm going to name as the hero image. And this is what is going to uniform the whole email, like I said. And so what I want to start with is I want to start with making sure that there is some uniform in the email, that everything looks cohesive and pretty much the same. Best way to do that is I'm going to create another rectangle, make sure it's 600 by 600 again, and I want to create a gradient. To create a gradient, you want to come in here, you want to go here, and essentially you want to pick your colors. But now the gradient's going the wrong way. So super simple fix is I'm going to turn it, and you can just turn it to where you want. And now what I'm going to do is I am going to make the left side as close to this color as possible, and then this side I'm going to make it as close to this color as possible. So there's going to be a line, but how we're going to fix it is we're just going to drag some of the elements. So I've got to open on the right here as well, just to save me a bit of time. But essentially taking their logo and logo, hero gradient. Cool. And so what I want to do now is I want to follow a rule of thumb that's going to make you thousands of dollars to pay attention to this. Most people make their logos separate to the rest of the email. You don't want to do that. You want to make sure it's on the hero visual to save you space and time, because no one cares about your logo, quite frankly. So next, what you want to do is you want to add a hero text. And now the hero text that I want is the "this looks for lifters" is the text that I'm going with, right? And so what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to make sure that it is better sized. So let's do that for now. And then if you have this issue where there's like an alignment issue, then all you need to do is you want to change the line height over here. So for my sake, I'm just going to make it 50, and it's kind of for the most part fixed. And I maybe want to choose some kind of better font. So font that I want to go with is Anton, is the one that I like. So let's go with Anton. And now we can make it a little bigger. So all of the options are going to be on the left here. And again, you just have to kind of adjust the line height to whatever you see best, right? And so this is kind of what we want. We want to go ahead and do this. And now I'm just going to copy paste the version that I've got over there, but you get the point of how to set it up. And so I like to put it a little bit over the gradient point so that it blends in. Now you can't really tell that there's a gradient issue or that there's a cutoff. And now next we want to make sure that it always goes logo, headline, subtext, button, and then image. That's always the best rule of thumb. In my sake, I'm not going to add some subtext. I'm just going to go straight to the button. And the button, I kind of want to go with this. I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. So what I want to do is I want to add a radius. And so I'm just going to do a 20 radius, which looks good to me. I'm going to make this a white button. And I am going to go ahead and add an effect so it's not so flat. And so I'm just using the drop shadow overlay. And now what I want is, again, I just want to add in some text. And so what I'm going to do is press T for text, and I'm going to say get them as the call to action. And again, just going to readjust sizing over here. So let's go ahead and do this. And then I'm going to change it to black. Cool. And so I'm going to go put it over here. Could be a little bit bigger just to fit a bit better. And I like that. All right. So you can go around, play around with whatever. And this is more going to be personal preference. But I like the look of that. And so what I like to do is, again, just make sure everything is named. So I know this is the button. I know that this is button text. This is just my preferred way of doing things. And then what I'll do is I want to make sure that I select all of these. And I'm actually going to group them. So that's my hero visual. This is my hero section, and it all looks solid. So now what I want to do is I want to add additional information. So what I'm going to do is just take a little bit of a rectangle again. And this time I'm going to make it more like that. All right. So that's the color of the rectangle. So I'm going to take some text from their website. And again, this is just something I've already done on the side to save me time for efficiency for your sake. So I'm just going to resize, and that looks good. And then I want to take this. I'm just going to put it over here. All right. But I think it's squish it a little bit more. And that looks decent. So again, I'll kind of adjust as I go along, and you can do the same thing. And so this section looks pretty good to me. Maybe make this slightly darker like that. Cool. And now what I want to do is I want to grab some of the other elements. So I'm going to go and I want to go ahead and put this here. So we're going to go here, 600. Cool. And what I would like to do is now I want to change the color of the overall template to match the rest of the email. So that if there's ever, kind of an open spot like this, I don't want it to be gray. I want it to match the aesthetic of the email. And so what I like to do is I like to take the color of like an open section. So I could either make it this color or I could make it that color. I like this color. And so that's going to be the rest of the email instead of this gray background. So when you export, it's going to be easier. And so now what I want to do is I want to create a product section, but I want to make it a little bit more dynamic. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this image, and I've already resized them ahead of time. And actually, I'm going to resize this as well. I want to leave it open like that. And then I want to make it like this. Cool. And now what I want to do is I want to add in a rectangle, which is a gradient as well. Perfect. So that looks pretty decent. And now this doesn't look greatest, but I don't want it to just be a hard stop image. Otherwise, it's not going to look great. So what I'm doing is I'm just building the foundation so they will eventually look like this. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take the images so long, and I'm going to build this section. So let me just kind of speed up this portion and show you when I've got the elements in place. Cool. And so what I like to do here is, again, I am a huge fan of gradients. I think it pulls everything together. So again, I'm just going to flip everything so that it's pretty clear where everything is. I'm going to do that, and I'm actually going to overlay it like this and pull it over here. The reason I'm doing that is because I'm actually going to make this like this and like this to where there's an overlay. All right. So essentially, if you get it right, it's going to look super clean. And you can do it a little bit like this, right? So just drag this along as you see fit. And I'm going to drag it a little bit like that. And so again, you can play around with however you want this to look, but this is a really nice trick for you to kind of make it a bit more dynamic of a design, and then change the opacity here, maybe even less. And now it looks way cleaner. So now it's just like this gradients. And so I'm going to do it to the rest over here as well. All right, so now we have these three sections, which is all good. And so what I want to go ahead and do is I want to add in buttons. So again, just a little bit more of a dynamic section than just showing a regular bestsellers block. And so I'm going to do the same thing, but actually for ease, which I recommend, is making sure that everything is cohesive. I'm just going to copy paste this group that I made earlier. And so I'm going to come here and I'm going to put it over here. The only difference is that I'm going to shorten it. So I'm going to do that. And then I'm going to copy paste, put it over here. And again, if this happens, you're just going to layer it and make sure that it is in the right place where it will show correctly. And so let's do that. Cool. And so I want to make sure it's central. Again, Figma will help you do this. All good. And so now I just want to pretty much do the same thing with the text. I'm going to copy this. And I'm going to put it over here. And then I'm going to say shop white. But I need to change the sizing, and that looks pretty decent. And then here, again, similar issue. Just going to go here and shop black. And then we want to come here, copy paste. This is going to save you a lot of time if you do it this way. And then brown. Great. And let's reline. Cool. So that all looks pretty solid to me. So what I'm going to go ahead and do is I'm going to create a group out of these, because again, I just want everything to kind of stick together so that it's not cluttered. Because we have a bit of cluttering, but it's all good. And so what we want to do, let me actually make sure that this is decluttered. I'm just going to choose these elements. Cool. And let's go group that. Great. So now everything is pretty much in its place. Now what I want to do is I want to go down into this section and I want to do a bestseller section. So I'm just going to create a simple headline. Check these best sellers. Great. Make sure that is the correct font. Again, consistency is really important in design. You'd be surprised. And we're just going to put it over here. But it looks a little bit incorrect as white. So we're going to make it a black heading. And so now we're just going to put in our images that we have pre-saved and pre-grouped, which is essentially like this. We're just going to change the size to 600 and do that. And so this looks pretty decent to me. I think it's just overlapping slightly. Cool. So that's all good. But now I actually prefer that this will on a white background. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to maybe make this a gradient. And so let's have a look at how this is formatted. Let's go and make this color. And then the bottom of the email, we will make white. Cool. Great. So again, it's just making the email a little bit more dynamic, and now everything flows into one. And now what I want to do is I want to extend this. So let me just unlock. I'm going to extend this section. And I am going to add another CTA. So let me go to the top one. I'm going to add another CTA. And this time I'm going to have just a general shop now. And I'm going to change up the color shop now. And I'm going to change this to be black. And then the text, obviously we're going to make it white. Cool. So that looks pretty solid. I'm going to elongate this just to look a little bit better. And that looks pretty decent. So maybe even lengthen that so it doesn't look so claustrophobic. Cool. So that is essentially our button. I'm going to move it up slightly. And then all I'm doing is I have done this section as well. Perfect. And let's take this element. So yeah, I just did that off camera just to save some time. And then we're going to realign everything. Perfect. So we have a pretty decent email here. And all you would need after the fact is a footer, which I've just taken from existing emails because I'm not going to go and recreate a footer. But you get the idea. So essentially, this is technically where it would be, and then you would just have your footer thereafter. And so just like that, you have a fully well-performing email that follows the rules, does everything. And then what we're going to do to export is we're just going to export in sections. So you're going to create splices, right? So super simple. And yeah, hope that all makes sense. Hopefully everything, is all good for you. And so what we would do is we would then finalize this. We'll go take all of this minus this little section over here that keeps dragging. Let me remove that. And so what we're going to do is we're going to take this full section, and again, best rule of thumb is you want to make sure that you are essentially framing everything. And so what this will do is you can select this instead of like trying to drag and drop, and you're going to go over here and you're going to export, and you can export as a PNG. And so it's going to export the full file correctly. And you can go and splice it and then add it into every email. So that's pretty much it. Hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully it was to the point, actionable, and you can take some of these elements and apply it yourself. I do tons of these videos, so let me know what else you'd want to see. But otherwise, that's all good. Now, if you are a company or a brand that's looking for an agency to come in and do the email marketing for you, so you don't have to go through this process of ideation, creation, figuring out, putting everything together that it looks good, then go down below and book in a call with us. We would love to do a free consultation for you, give you some value, and hopefully end up working together. With that being said though, that's it, and I'll see you in the next video.